Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renee Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of a band that is celebrating 35 years this year. If you've never listened to this podcast before, well, we are going to talk about the band Dave Matthews Band. They started in 1991 in Charlottesville, Virginia, and they swept the whole world. Literally, the whole world fell in love with Dave Matthews Band. I feel like it's the soundtrack of my life. It's been a part of me as long as I can remember. And in talking with other fans, I found out I wasn't the only one that felt that way. So in 2022, I started a podcast. This podcast, and every episode is a different fan of Dave Matthews Band that joins the show to share their why. Why do they love Dave Matthews Band? And so this episode is no different. I have a fan of Dave Matthews Band on the show to tell us why he loves this band so much. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Tell us who you are, where in the world are you, and tell us something cool about you.
My name is Chris Bassett, and I'm north of Chicago, almost to the Wisconsin border. I'm an electrical contractor and married with two beautiful daughters. And love Dave Matthews like everybody else, and excited to tell my story.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. Like I told you before we started recording, this show doesn't work without the fans of Dave Matthews Band. Like I said, every episode is a different fan. And so if you're listening to this and you haven't shared your story, I invite you to come on the show. There's no prerequisites. You don't have to have gone to a single show. You just have to love the music of Dave Matthews Band. And so there is an email address that is in the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this through a podcast app. Just look for the email in the show notes, send me an email, and we'll go from there. So tell us, let's go all the way back. When was the very first time you remember hearing about Dave Matthews Band?
Yeah, I remember it very vividly. So Dave Matthews Band, to be perfectly honest, the first time I heard it was a MTV video of What Would You Say? I'd say circa 1996, summerish. And I perfectly honestly thought it was a little bit like funky, but yeah, I thought it was cool seeing the video, but I wasn't sold on it. I was like, okay, the wacky pants, the wacky Dave. But winter of that year, borrowing my dad's 1996 Hyundai Scoop, there was a CD of Under the Table and Dreaming in the car, and I fell in love. I think it was a typical situation and rhyme and reason for me from that CD, and then obviously the whole rest of the CD, phenomenal, and that's kind of where it started for me.
So big thank you to Dad, right? So your dad was into Dave Matthews Band.
My father was, and I think we've been to probably about 20 shows together, so he likes to go.
Awesome.
But he's a big music buff, all the way back to, when he's 70, 6-ish or getting there, and
The classic.
he knows all the old stuff, the records, yeah. But yeah, he's a big Dave Matthews fan as well.
Awesome.
And then
That's
obviously
always a lot of fun when
from
your
there
parents
I had friends in high school, and we all kind of played guitar and got into like a little bit more, like, learning a couple like guitar things, like Lie in Our Graves and stuff like that, and Dancing Nancy's and Satellite, which and then from there, went to the first show in 97. Summer of 97 was my first show, and fell in love from there.
Wow.
71 shows I've been to since then, and like everybody else, just enjoy it immensely.
Do you remember your first show? I know 1997 was a million years ago because that's the year I graduated high school. It feels like a million years ago. Do you remember much about that show?
To be perfectly honest, I remember getting there. I remember a few of the songs because at the time, Crash had just come out. They were touring for Crash, and I can pull up the song stats, but I just remember, the hits, and then at the end, them ending with ants marching and just kind of dancing with my girlfriend, then now wife. And I remember that, but not as much as like my last 20 shows. My first 20, I can't tell you like the same remembrance. I remember the style. I remember kind of
Right.
how the band was, how they dressed, the vibe. The video screens weren't as AI'd or tricked out as they are. Obviously, this year is intense, but yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember like every detail of my first few shows. Looking back and seeing the
Right.
songs I saw, it blew my mind, but I don't
Right.
remember it like I do
At the
the last.
time, it didn't,
The,
but now you look back and go, "Oh my God, I got this song, and maybe I've never heard it again, or whatever."
yeah, number 40, Blue Water, songs like that where you're never probably going to hear them again, right? So it's that those
Right.
things I look back like, oh, I heard that, like great, but yeah, the evolution of the band from then.
Most of the fans really do see such a big difference between what we listen to on the radio, especially what we listened to on the radio back when it was on the radio, or studio albums, and then listening to them live. It's such a big difference. Do you remember catching on to that? Like, wow, they do things differently than they do, on their studio albums?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sure a plethora of the rest of the fans, I gravitated to the band because I'd seen quite a few live shows. I go to a lot of live concerts still. And for this band, I mean, you take, just as you said, you take a studio song, and we can talk about quite a few of them. One that comes to mind for me off the top of my head, like you Might Die Trying. You take that song, and it's such a soft, not bad, such a soft, just clean, neat song, not muddy, not messy, not growly on
Right.
the album. And then
Right.
you hear it live, especially in the last few years, the evolution of that, blows your mind. But yeah,
Yes.
that's one of the greatest loves of the band is they can take their studio song and dice it up, and it just gets better every time you hear it.
It really does. It really does. So I know that you don't necessarily remember the first 20 shows, but talk about the shows that you really do remember. Hit some highlights for us along the way of some shows that really made like an impact on you.
Sure. So the Caravan was great. So I went to the Caravan shows when they went through Chicago, and seeing the
Ooh,
debut of Sweet, which the story, as you probably know, and most fans know, and I could be wrong, but as it goes, he was swimming with his son at the time, who was younger, and teaching him to swim. And he was in Chicago in a hotel, and he wrote the song on the ukulele that morning. And I think it debuted at I believe the Saturday show of Caravan, and that was great to be
wow.
there. I mean, knowing the lore of it now, it was great to be there, and at the time, just to say, oh, this is a cool song. He's got the little ukulele out, was cool, and that was
Right.
fun. The Caravan shows were really fun because you got to run around. There was multi stages and stuff going on, but you got a little Dave and Tim, a couple nights, and then you got the full Dave Matthews sets. Those were some good shows, and then
Absolutely.
the one that became live tracks. I'm an Alpine Valley guy, so of my 71 shows, I want to say at least 40 of them were at Alpine. So the live tracks of
Wow.
back in the day for Alpine was great. Just a standout show. I'm hearing like let me think, what songs do we hear there? Breakouts of Sugar Will was on that, and that was great. A nice long Sugar Will.
I love
That
Sugar
was a
Will.
good show.
I don't know that it's been played this year or when the last time it was played,
I
but it's not played
I
often
don't think
enough.
it's been played this year. I've been thinking it's going to come out soon, but I don't think it's been played this year. Yeah, I got a show. July 26th, 2015 was a good show that I noted that I remembered. That's where they came out, and he started the set acoustically. So we got Beach Ball, Let You Down, and Belly Full, and Oh. And
Wow.
then it went into full band. We started with, I believe, The Stone, and then we got Snow Outside. We got
Wow.
Seek Up. Minarets was in that, 41, obviously. And Sister Two Step Halloween. That was a good show.
Yeah, that was
That
an
was a highlight.
amazing show. That was a great show. And I know that you have a story about, we're going to fast forward just right quick, but I know you just told me about a story about Sister when it was playing and you'd taken your daughters. Can you share that story with everyone that's listening?
Oh yeah, so my daughters, shout out to my daughters. They're great. My older daughter's 26. She's a PA at a hospital by us. My younger
Awesome.
daughter's going to grad school now. She's 22, and they've gone to quite a few shows with me, probably about a half dozen together. And the last show, the Chicago show, was no, actually, I'm sorry, Alpine Valley, I believe 24, encored with Sister, and we got a nice picture of them holding hands and sitting next to each other, and it's great to hear those kind of songs and see those, have those kind of moments with your family when you
Yes.
can. So that was a
Absolutely.
good time.
Speaking of family, does your wife and you said your daughters are into Dave Matthews Band, but is your wife into Dave Matthews Band?
She is, she's as we've gotten older, we've been together, we've been married over 25 years, and we've been together, kind of high school sweethearts or whatnot, like around that time.
Oh, that's
So
great.
she's just less into going to the shows as when we were younger. And to be honest, when we
Sure.
were younger, the shows they tended to be a little rowdier, I think, in the earlier days. My remembrance,
We were all
a little
younger.
more heavy with, yeah, heavier with the drinking and the stuff, and now it's a lot more, you go there, you really experience the show. But I'm talking the overall vibe, it's not as like punkish young kids, the crowd's kind of aged, as
Right.
we have.
It
But
does.
so she's less into the,
Yes.
the party-ish scene and stuff like that, but respects the music just as she always has. But
Yes.
I'd say we've been to at least probably about 30 shows together, so it's not that she hasn't gone. And
Wow.
we took
That's really awesome.
my whole company. We took my whole company and like all their wives at the time, because you have a certain amount of guys for a certain amount of jobs or whatever. But we took about 30 people in a bus to Dave Matthews about
Wow.
5-6 years ago to Alpine. That was pretty fun. Hung out all day and partied there.
Wow.
So
What
that
a
was
great
pretty cool.
boss you are.
I mean,
That
I'm just
is
like, hey,
awesome.
let's get all these people into Dave Matthews, and but sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. But it was a good time. We
Yes,
ate
exactly. It's
ate and
not for
drank.
everyone, but it's for a lot of people.
So,
So you talked a little bit about playing guitar when you were in high school. So walk us through, like, when did you start learning to play the guitar? And then how has that kind of evolved with Dave Matthews Band being in place? Because a lot of people that like to play guitar obviously then try to pick up Dave songs, and those are a little trickier on the guitar than other music. So let's talk about you and the guitar, and have you tried to play Dave songs?
okay, so yeah, Dave Matthews is definitely one of the most underrated. Not only is he beautifully vocally, poetically, romantically, I mean, he's a wonderful songwriter, but I would say he's one of the most underrated guitar songwriters. It is one of the most difficult guitars to play. I grew up when I first started the guitar, it was, a few Beatles songs, which are basic chords, and then you gravitate to what you like. And at the time, some Nirvana songs, very easy on the guitar,
Mm-hmm.
learn them right away. Some Smashing Pumpkins, a little bit more intricate, but Dave Matthews, like none other, is just, he's all over the guitar. I mean, there's some songs it took me probably a decade to learn the Stone. I mean, and then Satellite. Your fingers are just all over the place. It's crazy. But I do have a guitar here, and I can break it out, and we can talk a little bit about that. I can show you a few things that
Let's do.
I went through and
Let's
learned.
do.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So we can talk about guessing songs by where he kind of puts his hands on the guitar. If I can set this
Yes.
up to show you.
That's one thing that I noticed, and I don't know anything about playing guitar, but the way his left hand moves,
Left hand
it's like
chords.
his fingers do something that I don't think my fingers could do.
Well, I do my best. Mine can't either. So first song I learned was Satellite. So, and my wife was overseas in Europe, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and I had to call her and say, "Oh, I learned it, but I stumbled through it really bad." But it's your fingers are just moving all over. If you see my fingers, they just wobble
Mm-hmm.
all over, and that's Dave's just all over the guitar.
Wow.
But now that same kind of motion, he's got these things that he uses a lot. So he'll use that kind of motion. That's down there, but he uses that for Warehouse up here. So, but that's almost like the same thing he's doing down here with Satellite, just all over, just moving all over. And he does that kind of motion with the Stone.
Yes.
And so I learned to guess
The
Dave Matthews
Stone,
songs
gosh,
over the years by
one of my favorites.
where he puts his fingers on the guitar, or what guitar he's using. So for example, he's got that little red guitar, and we know that's for like Shotgun
Yes.
and The Idea of You, Baby Blue. He used to cover a song, Whiter Shade of Pale. He played on that as well at the time. But so if he has that out, we know that he plays that. Now, if he's got the 12 string out, we know that he's playing like Gray Street or Sweet Up and Down or Joyride. Or then he's got the other 12 string that they tune, which is called drop D tuning, and that's for like bartender. And then he plays the last stop on a 12 string as well. So when you see the guitar, you can kind of guess that, and the electrics get a little more intricate, and even I can't guess what he's playing with all those. He's got one guitar that's called a baritone, and that's what he plays for like Break Free and a few other songs, and then he's got
Hmm.
another like a Les Paul. So the electrics get a little bit more intricate, but you can start to kind of limit the songs and guess. And then when he's got his standard rock bridge guitar, just the six string that he plays for the majority of his songs, you can kind of start to limit what he's playing by, like, he'll run through his chords, and our great streamers with Couch Tour and things like that, we can see this so closely. But if he's starting to like fumble through things, if
Hmm.
he's up higher on the guitar, like these are called frets, right? So like this is the first fret, the second
Yes.
fret, the third fret, all the way down. So if he's higher up on the guitar, you'll see him fiddling around before warehouse. And if it's the standard guitar, he's going into warehouse. And the same thing is if his fingers are like reversed in that area, he might be playing like monsters. So it's kind of where he starts. You can kind of figure it out, you know.
Yeah, that's something new that I've caught people doing, is not just trying to guess what song is going to be played, but guessing what song is about to be played based on the guitar that he has. And so I'm sure that that's probably something that you like to do. If he grabs a guitar, you're like, okay, well, I think it could be X, Y, or Z. Is that true?
Right. That is such a fun game that I play, and some people love it and some people it annoys, right?
Oh, I think it's
But it is
exciting. I
fun.
mean, that just means like the level of dedication in trying to study all of that. I mean, that's a fan, man. Like you have put some work in and also you know a lot about guitars, which is probably naturally a little bit easier for you just in understanding all of the different types of guitar. I have not reached that level. I probably never will just because I have no knowledge about guitars, but I do get really excited when he pulls out an electric guitar. Like I like that. And usually the songs he plays with the electric is always like something that I love. The Space Between is
Yeah.
played on electric. So, there's a lot of great songs.
Yeah, sure. Why I Am on the electric guitar is great. What You Are is a phenomenal like encore song on the electric guitar. Break Free on the electric baritone. He's the evolution too. It was almost, to me, I thought, like almost like you hear like the Bob Dylan story, if you remember the time, because I got into Dave Matthews around Under the Table and then into Crash, but I dove back in and got the thing was called recently. Anyways,
Yes,
it
with
came out
the
before, it
lady
was
and the
like a
guy on the
demo
front of the
thing.
album. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
And it had All Along the Watchtower Live and had some
Hmm.
acoustics. So I got into that. But you started hearing all the live things and going to all the shows or whatever. And then all of a sudden he comes out with another album and he's got an electric guitar going. And there was almost a little, what is this Dave Matthews? Well, how does this identify? But I think the evolution that he's taken from there has been phenomenal.
Yes, yes. So have you paid attention? Do you know like what he kind of started with? I mean, I'm sure that he did not start out with all of the guitars that he has now. That takes time and money and a bunch of things, which they did not necessarily have in the beginning. Do you know what he kind of started on?
Yeah, so he started on an Ovation Celebrity guitar, which is like a pretty low budget guitar, and he played that pretty well into his career up until he switched over. I want to say, and don't quote me, but I want to say around 94 or so, he switched over, and I got the guitar too. I'll show you. He switched over all through the 90s to a Gibson Chet Atkins. This is like the crash guitar. I'm getting it right now.
I love that we're getting to see these
So if
guitars. If you're just listening to this on a podcast app, definitely switch over to YouTube and check this one out because Chris is showing us a lot of cool things.
So this is kind of what the guitar he had until 1999. It was a Gibson Chet Atkins. And then if you look at like the older
So
videos, that's what he
beautiful.
played faithfully everything on.
It's a beautiful guitar.
Yeah, and then he got into this is a 12-string version of it, but then he started playing Taylor guitars all the way through that era and up until he got into the rock bridge. So this is still kind of what he played the last stop on up until now. He plays everything on a rock bridge. Now a rock bridge is a guitar maker out of Virginia that he linked up with, and just now that's his signature guitar. So his standard SJ small jumbo 6-string is a rock bridge guitar, and then his standard 12-string is as well. I don't think they make any
Wow.
electric, so that's where he ventures off into everything else. And then the only other guitar he's got is the one I got back on the wall back there, and that's called Avante by Valet. He's got it in red though, and that's what he plays shotgun and the Idea You and whatnot on.
I
And
get
then
excited
the
when I see the
ukulele.
red guitar come out. Oh yeah, and
I
you
get
kind
sore.
that one narrows it down a lot. Like we know what he's about to play
Yep. Yeah, that makes it fun.
because I think he just plays the one song right on ukulele. There's just the one, right? Or is there more?
It's just sweet. No, it's just sweet on ukulele.
Yes.
But you know,
Yes. Okay.
he could
Okay.
get back into writing a lot more, and that would be amazing.
I think he will. I do. I see that happening. I don't think that even though we're sitting at 35 years, I don't think that Dave Matthews himself is anywhere close to stop writing his thoughts down and thinking. And, you know, he's always making new songs. And that's kind of happened this year and last year is just, you know, with current times or whatever, like it's inspired him to write. And so I don't think that that part of him will ever be over. I think we've got a lot to still get to see in our lifetime.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's you can see his span. I think he plays a good 5 or 6 different guitars now, so on a regular basis. So I think that he's a music guy. He's gonna keep moving in that direction. So I could see that as well. So I'll get this guitar back out. But that's the style that he learned is basically the majority of his songs have this. It's almost like a 2-fingered chord. Now he used something else, but like they're all over. Again, these are the frets, but they're all over the guitar. But they're for almost the vast majority of his songs. So two step, it's a Dave chord. It's this 2-finger thing. So two step is this 2-finger thing, but it's mind blowing. Almost all of his songs is any major song you think of. Gray Street, same 2-finger thing. And when I say 2-finger, you got one finger on your low E string and one finger on your G string, and it's just a different spot on the guitar, a different fret. So Gray Street, another 2-finger Dave song. Too Much, another 2-finger song. The whole bridge of
Wow.
Lie in Our Graves, there's a lot of them.
Wow.
There's a lot.
Wow. You know, something that I had never really thought about Dave. And, you know, there's so much that's going on in a show besides just Dave, right? Like we've got the rest of the band, and each of them are amazing to watch do their craft. But recently, well, I guess it was 3 years ago, I got to finally see Dave and Tim alone. And a lot of people go, you know, hey, I don't know that I want to see just Dave and Tim. I like the full band. And I get it. I do too. But here's what just seeing Dave and Tim did for me. It made me realize how amazing of guitarists they are, because you really could focus in on just them and their hands and how they sounded, because it's almost a little hard to hear Dave play the guitar when everything else is playing at the same time. So, you know, my respect level just, you know, soared after that. And, you know, if anyone has a chance to get to see, you know, just Dave or Dave and Tim, I think that it's important as a big fan just to it'll give you a greater appreciation of his craft for sure. You know, it's amazing what he does. And of course, Tim Reynolds, he's just my favorite. That man can shred like none other. I love his skills. But definitely try to see Dave and Tim if you get a chance. I know that you got a chance to see Dave and Tim a couple of times. And are those some things that you liked about just seeing them by themselves?
I think when I go to a show, I personally enjoy the full band. I think it's a more fuller sound. I think it's
Sure.
it's a cooler vibe, you know, more of a dance, enjoy, sway. But musically, listening, like for my listening pleasure in my own vehicle or for myself, I love them just the same. Dave and Tim is such a good sound. I mean, Tim Reynolds, like you said, is he's a virtuoso on the guitar. He's phenomenal. I
Mhm.
mean, I remember early, you know, bootlegs or whatever, like what you call them back then, of Tim Reynolds doing the violin parts, but just acoustically, like Ants Marching, just doing a solo that sounds just like the violin, but on a guitar. I mean, he's phenomenal in his own
Yeah,
right, for sure.
he is. He
Which,
really is.
but seeing
Amazing.
Dave alone too, I didn't go, but you know, I like to say I've been to 500 shows with the Couch Tour, but those shows where he did
Yeah, if
the
those count,
two
we're in.
solos, yeah, the two solo shows though, where we got to see Mr. Jake Simpson, which is you know not an unknown name these days anymore. I mean, they introduced him into him. I mean, just seeing Dave play though, all of his songs alone, you just see how talented he is, because they have such a full sound now with adding, you know, Rashawn and having Buddy with on the keys all the time. it's a great sound, but it's
Hmm.
his intricate and individual guitar definitely can get blended in a lot of the songs a lot more than seeing him at that more intimate setting. Like if you have the chance, like you mentioned, but I love him. I
Right,
love both
right.
sounds equally. It's two different. You can hear a stripped down version of a song and it sounds nothing like the full band version. When you remove so much other added
Exactly.
aspects and just hear the bare bones where it started, and it's probably where it started for the most
Just
part, right?
basically
That's
like
how he constructed.
hearing like the yes, hearing the beginnings or like what he was figuring out on the guitar as he was writing the song. It really does. It strips it down and maybe gives you a glimpse of how it was in the beginning when he was writing it. But back to Jake Simpson, right quick. Of course, yes, if you've been listening to the band for the last year or two, he's been a guest that has really been brought in a lot of times to play the fiddle and to play that role in the show. If you don't know anything about Jake, he plays with the Lucas Nelson Band. And actually, with Lucas, he does not play the fiddle. He plays the guitar, which is very interesting. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that, but he's a man of many talents. He also sings very well. I'm excited to see what the band is going to do with him because just recently Jake did an unboxing of his inner ear mics and explained that he had never been able to get that level of inner ear mics because of how expensive they were. So Dave Matthews Band, along with the help of the manufacturer of these inner ear mics, they presented him with him and he did an unboxing of it and was just so excited to have like these really, really professionally great mics. So I'm excited to see like what does that mean? Was that just like a thank you for playing along with us, or like so many people are like, are they bringing him on? That's kind of what we're wondering and all kind of thinking is going to happen. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, like it is what it is. I'm happy either way, but like, do you have any thoughts on what you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It is what it is, but I have hopes and aspirations. My thoughts are it's he's a special treat when he comes, and when he's not there,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's
Yes,
still a great show.
it's still
But
great. It's still
I
great,
did
right?
see it's phenomenal, but I did see the other night when they closed the show, they for the first time they introduced him as well. So that's to me that sounds almost I think, and I don't know how
Right.
this works, and I'm not trying to step on toes, but he might be under contract at the time,
Yeah,
and just like anything else, when a
of
contract's up,
course.
who knows? He could be wanting to tour with Dave Matthews. And in a perfect world, maybe the Lucas Nelson and Dave Matthews band, and we can just have a super group and we all share. But
Yes.
anyway, we'll take
Yes,
him. I think we'll
absolutely.
take him.
One other thing that I saw on social media was that Dave Matthews Band posted on their official Facebook and I'm sure Instagram a group picture of kind of the crew that helps along with them. And of course, the full band was in there, scattered all over. A lot of the crew was in the picture, and Jake Simpson was right there along with anyone. That picture right there made me think harder about it than anything else because I was like, why would they include him on a crew picture if he has no intentions of being part of this crew? Like, there's so many things I'm like, I want to ask, but also I want to be surprised and like wait for whatever they tell us. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm so excited. And, you think about these things 35 years in, and this band is still surprising us with things we never saw coming, things we thought we would never hear again. There were so many people that thought there would never be a fiddle sound again. So, to have that OG sound back is really, really cool because those are the sounds we fell in love with long, long ago.
I 100% agree. I had the opportunity to go to the Gorge last year, and seeing Jake come out there. I mean, it was mind blowing, and to see the songs that he's the evolution of them. I mean, they're playing almost every well, not almost every, but they got over 20 songs going together now, and it sounds great. And I want to say some of the solos are they're in spots where they were never before. They sound better than they did before. The solo during Seek Up, and to be honest, more mind blowing. Recently, they had Jake with a solo during Rooftop, and there was never a violin solo there, and it sounds phenomenal. He's fitting in perfectly, and only good things to come. Hopefully, right?
It's so great. There's only a small bit of Dave Matthews Band history where we had both a keyboard pianoist and a fiddle player because If you look back in time, you can see the rotation of people in and out. And so it's exciting to have both instead of either or. I think it's just such an addition to have both. And, in the last couple of years, I know that Buddy has played his keyboard to sound like a violin. But now, they're bringing the violin. So I think it's always been something they've been aware of that's important to fans. And now maybe they've just, continuously heard like, hey, I really want this back. And then we all meet Jake Simpson and he's such a great fit. He is a fan of the band. If you're interested in knowing more about his fan story and how he fell in love with Dave Matthews Band, he was actually on this podcast. So look back, go scroll through, look for the Jake Simpson episode. I was so grateful that he came on and shared his fan story because it does kind of help us understand more of like why all of this is happening. And to see his perspective, it's just, it still gives him goosebumps to be where he is. And that's exciting for all of us. So definitely later on down the line, check out that episode. It's a fun one for sure.
Yeah, his father has been watching him on Couch Tour during the shows live, and we've intermittently chatted throughout like the group chat, and it's just great. He's just so proud of his son, and from what I heard, he plays like
Of
6 instruments. I
course.
think he played 2 instruments in high school, not a guitar and not a violin. So he's a master of his own trades.
Yes, he told me, but I can't remember.
I didn't.
Yeah,
What he played in high school, I've never heard of the instrument. So kudos to him for that.
Well, definitely check out the episode. He'll tell you.
I was going to say my favorite song is number 41, and I'm sure that resonates with a lot of fans. But I like everybody. I like almost every song, and it's hard. I think like during periods of your life, depending on like maybe where you're at or how old you are, or where you're at, married, not married, whatever. Different songs resonate at different times, and I have a good 15, 20 that I'd say are always my top, and they rotate a little. But yeah, I've always thought number 41's been my favorite song. I think it's a beautiful song. It's great about love. It's great about just confidence and awe, and just makes you feel just very almost swept in the beauty of music. Yeah, I love fan participation songs, and I think even when you get it small, like yeah, where everybody's screaming it, that's great. Where you
Yes.
get the song like every day, where you get pieces of the band doing this, pieces of the band doing lift me up, love, pick me up, love, and everybody else like.
Yes.
And you get the whole crowd, and it just
I
turns
love
into
that
a
so much.
beautiful gathering of human beings enjoying music. And I love when he does cover songs. I agree that there's the crowd participation is great. Cover songs, some people love them, some people hate them. I love them. I mean, there's a few I think that they haven't done as they've done them all justice, but a few have been top notch. A few maybe you could do
Yeah,
without, but I enjoy them thoroughly. I would love them to do more, to be
I
honest.
do.
Like maybe a Billy Joel
Yeah.
song, maybe Billy Joel, "It's My Life," I was thinking, or Earth, Wind and Fire, "September." I mean, there's just so many that I think that they could still just really just nail.
I'm a big covers fan. One of them that I love that they do play often is Sledgehammer. I believe that they do a better job at that song than the original. For sure. Just my opinion, but it is solid every time. And I don't know, the emotion that they put into it, everything that they're doing when they're playing that is just wow. The organ is on the spot, or keyboard, which I think it's like maybe some organ that he's putting in there. But dude, that is a go getter for me. When that hits, oh my God, like it's time to run up and down the aisles and give high fives.
That is
Which I
that is a
have
great song.
done. Which I have done.
You weren't alone. I'm sure you got them all. You got the fives received too. Sledgehammer is great. I think I agree with you. I think that the problem is with when you say it's, and I agree with you, they do it better than the original. Is a lot of the songs that they're covering get stuck in a time. So Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer was kind of pigeonholed in the time where that 80s music was boxed into a more of a studio edited sound, and
Yes.
and I'm sure Peter Gabriel now just he's a little ahead of Dave in the age game. But I agree with you.
Yes.
The song's fire, and then they actually did another Peter Gabriel song I think a few times. Did "Book of Love," which was Peter Gabriel also covered that I guess as well. But Yeah, but I think
Hmm.
the band's doing a great job of mixing the songs in, giving everybody something special for the most part. Whether it's a debut or something like that. But I'm just waiting for them just to almost do like what the Grateful Dead used to do, where they at any given time they could play anything. Now I think Dave Matthews is a lot more refined, and musically they come together almost like you're seeing like orchestra. It's just amazing. There's timing.
Hmm.
Carter's the conductor, obviously, but I would just like to see them just bust out some rarities more often myself. But I think they're
Yeah,
they're
a
coming out of their
Crazy
shell and starting to
Easy,
dust off some good ones.
Gaucho.
Crazy
I
Easy
can
would be
name off
fun.
some.
Gotcha would be fun.
My gosh, yes. People would lose their
Yeah,
minds. Lose their minds.
yeah,
Gaucho got to happen. It's been too long and we need it. I want to hear it. And I don't know that I ever will. So just a little bit of history for those of you that have maybe never heard of Crazy Easy. It's going to take a little digging to find. So it popped out for the very first time in 2004, 2005. They also played it. And then they stopped until night 3 at the Gorge in 2013. They played it. And that was the last time it's ever been played. And I've been screaming about it for years. And maybe one day we'll get it. I know a lot of people are looking for that. I had a friend that even sent me, she had shirts made that say, my chaser is Crazy Easy. And if it happens, this girl's going to go batshit crazy or something. It was like the cutest shirt. So I made signs when I was in Kansas City. I had the chance to be in the pit and I made signs that was like, it's crazy easy to be a fan. It's crazy easy. Like I'm just trying to plant the seed in their mind. Like we have not forgotten this song. And I think they could do such a great job of it now. Just the difference in the band in 2013. A beautiful time for the band, but such a different feel than now. So I think that they could really do some magical things with some old songs they haven't busted out in a while. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
yeah. I think Crazy Easy it came out around the same time. I think it was when they were working with the producer Mark Ronson, I think his name was, or whatever.
Yeah.
Break Free came out of that. Break For It.
Break for it. God, I want to hear that again.
Sugar Will was around that time.
Yes.
But
Those
yeah, that
years
was
were
a
magical.
good group of
So
songs.
much stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, good group of
Really
songs,
good group of
and a lot of
songs.
them didn't make the cut. I'm forever chasing Cigarette Lit. I love to go down the rabbit hole, and unfortunately, the rabbit hole hasn't changed much. When I say rabbit hole, YouTube in the last few years, because everybody knows everything. But
Yes.
yeah, there was a plethora of songs that they just vanished. Cigarette Lit for me is I would
Hmm.
love to hear that. They have a great studio version online, and I think live they would do it just wonderful justice. There's a plethora of those songs
Absolutely.
that just went away. Kill the King. Where's Kill the King? These days that came from that era as well.
I have heard it live, but not by Dave Matthews Band. I heard it by Dave Matthews Tribute Band, who pays tribute to the very early years of Dave Matthews Band. And so, of course, that's why they play some of those older songs that we don't get to hear. And at least we got to hear it. It wasn't by Dave Matthews Band, but those dudes are pretty solid and wanting to do the music justice. So they have played Crazy Easy for me. Like they're open to suggestions, and that's one cool thing about going to their shows is if you want to hear a song, you just tell them and they play it, and it's amazing. So if you've got some extra time on your hands or you can't handle fall tour, this Dave Matthews Tribute Band, they travel all year, all over the country. So check out thedmtb.com to look at their schedule. They're really, really amazing. So let's wrap up this episode. I want to know why, after all of this time and all of the hard work you put into it, and that maybe this is the reason, but why do you still follow a band that you really kind of know everything about?
It's a good question, but I think for me, you pick a band, and I think I got lucky, as all of us fans do, and especially super fans. Somebody that will say that Dave Matthews is their favorite band, and I can undoubtedly say they are. They've been such a moral
Mhm.
compass. For me, I think they're always
Mhm.
on the right side of things.
Yes. Yes.
I think their music
Yes.
is beautiful. It can resonate with anybody. I mean, they speak lovely about life, loss, children. I mean, I think Virginia in the Rain is a fine example. I hear that. I'm not from Virginia, nor I don't think I've been to Virginia,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, that song reminds me of my daughters growing up, and that he puts those words so eloquently that we all feel, that have children, that, it's just beautiful. And over the years, I don't see any skippers in this band. I've liked bands, and now my children unfortunately like bands that, they advertise them in snippets on TikTok. You hear 45 seconds, you hear one song that you like. We've truncated our music that we don't dive deeply into our bands like we used to. We might have been the last
Right.
generation that will do that. I think this band is just constantly giving us beautiful music, enjoyable for me. Not only the sound, the words behind it and the meaning are there too. And time after time,
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. Now they have over, a dozen albums and probably over 250 songs out, unreleased. There's, a handful that I could, skip or go to the bathroom, as they say. But, I don't dislike them entirely. But
Right. Right.
constantly, about 97, 98% of their music has been top notch. And they,
Oh,
every,
wow.
we spoke about them getting into more instruments and adding different components, and Dave playing with, more guitars, and they just keep turning out great music year after year, and they show up for us, all our fans. I mean, look how many tours they do. They're the biggest touring band, and longevity wise, and they keep showing up for us,
Right.
and they bring it every night 110%. So there's no reason to, not stop. You're not gonna be disappointing seeing a show. You're not gonna be disappointing, picking up an album, or however we do our music platform these days.
Yeah. It's everywhere, but that's a great thing, right? Compared to the days we came from where you really didn't have a lot of options. You either saw them live or you didn't. And those were the two options, And we probably weren't traveling as much as, the abilities now are just they're so much greater just with people being able to work from home or, other things that have allowed us to do some more personal time things, which is a great thing to do. Invest in your life, invest in your happiness. And this band does it for so many people. I have over 200 stories now of people telling me that this music makes them happy. And I think that's really important to keep preaching, is that, we need things to make us happy. There's so much shit in the world. There's so much noise in the world. But this is like a one thing in our lives that continuously makes us happy. It never disappoints us. And so to even have that one thing, I consider us super blessed.
I couldn't agree more. It's a wonderful thing to go see a Dave Matthews Band. I don't see, considering 30,000 fans go there, I don't see many people in tears when they leave. There's lots of smiles. There's a few
Yes,
party
yes.
poopers everywhere you go, but there's lots of smiles when you leave a Dave Matthews Band
Always.
show.
Absolutely. And some high fives because we're throwing them, right? Like, like we just, it's like a comparison of teams and bands. I always say Dave Matthews Band is my team because I don't really have a football team or whatever. I live in Arkansas. We don't have professional sports here, but we do love some Kansas City football. But, when it comes to teams, you may or may not win. But with Dave Matthews Band, my team, I win every single time. And that's such a really cool thing to go there and to always be pleasantly surprised and be happy and just to have that joy for, if not for a little bit, it's making those memories and thinking back on them and all of the good times that we've had, all of the changes that we've seen. I just stay ecstatic in thinking that we have more and what is to come. We don't know. Like we talked about earlier, what will happen with this band? Well, we don't know, but we're excited. And whatever they do, I have complete trust and faith that they are making the most perfect decisions because they've proved that for 35 years.
I couldn't agree more, and many more to come. I only can hope and get out there and see them. But I have full confidence that there'll be some iteration of Dave Matthews for a good 20 plus years. So we'll keep
I
keep
think
the
so
music
too.
rolling and enjoy it.
I think so too. Well, Chris, I cannot thank you enough for volunteering to come on the show and share your experience with this band.
I appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, I would love to spread the love of this band, and hope it reaches as many ears as possible. I don't think bad things come from it, and keep doing your good things, and keep spreading the love of the fan base. There's plenty of it out there.
That's right. Thank you so much. So, guys, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just remember there's a couple of things that you can actually do that will help the podcast out. If you leave a star review, you can write 2 words like it's great or whatever, write more. That actually does help to push that out to other people that may be listening to Dave Matthews Band, Dave and Tim, other Dave Matthews Band podcasts. It pushes it out and says, hey, if you're interested in that, you might be interested in this. So of course I need your help. This is a word of mouth kind of show. And so help me out in those ways. If you're watching this on YouTube, of course, the things that you do on YouTube is subscribe to the channel. So subscribe to this channel, like the videos, leave some comments. Again, that pushes it out for other people to be able to find this podcast because, I am a very small podcast and we're talking to potentially, the goal is, what do we say, 30,000 people? That's at most who would ever want to listen to this podcast. So we've got a small little group of people that are interested. So that's why I need your help to push it out. If you would like to share your story on this show, I invite you to simply just send that email that we talked about earlier, but also tell your friends. Everyone has Dave friends that go, you know what, you have a really cool story. You should send an email. She'd love to have you on the show. So do any of those things that'll help the show spread because of course this show does not continue without each of you. So I'm depending on you guys and I thank you so much for, this year we celebrate 4 years and I am just so thankful for every day that I've had with this, the relationships I've been able to build, the stories that have changed my life, and a lot of stories have changed the listeners' lives as well. And so thank you everyone for everything that you're doing. And let's continue on. Let's see if we can get that 30,000 episodes. Look, why not? We're trying. Stay tuned on all of social media to see where the show's going to be next, who's coming up on the show. You never know. It could be your friend. So definitely stay tuned on all of the socials. And the Space Between podcast will be in Denver this year for night 1 and night 2. So if you're going to be there, definitely look for the Space Between podcast. We'll have some swag to give away. And we'd love to talk to you about being on the show. So guys, in the meantime, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.